Tonight on the Worldview Report, as we reported yesterday, we had a rooftop shooter yesterday kill 2 migrants and wound others just after the funeral of Charlie Kirk. Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley, he's chairman of the Senate's Judiciary Committee. He issues a letter to the Trump administration demanding that it stop issuing work permits to hundreds of thousands of foreign workers that are taking away white-collar jobs from Americans. Some pregnant liberal women, they're going crazy with Tylenol. Mark Zuckerberg, he announces the launch of a new super PAC aimed at electing state candidates from both parties who support the company's stance on unfettered AI development with little to no regulation. And is your refrigerator talking to you? AI in our appliances is not only annoying, but it is invasive. The trend is about to explode. All these stories and more as the Worldview Report begins right now.
This is Worldview Report with host Brannon Howse. Whether it is news from the nation's capital or your state capital, from the classroom to the boardroom, from national security to national and local news that impacts you and your family, Worldview Report is your trusted source for vital and uncensored news. And now, here is Brannon Howse.
Good evening, and welcome to the Worldview Report. Leading off tonight, the shooter in Texas who killed 2 people on Wednesday at an immigration and customs enforcement facility and wounded another has been identified as 29-year-old Joshua John. The shooter was found dead, allegedly from a self-inflicted gunshot wound that was at the scene near the Dallas facility and reportedly had the message anti-ICE written on a bullet casing. That's what officials said. Authorities believe John acted as a sniper, having fired shots from a nearby rooftop. The Department of Homeland Security said on Wednesday in a statement that the shooter's 3 victims were all migrant detainees. And yet we're told the shooter was targeting ICE agents. Unlike the previous alleged shooter of Charlie Kirk, who was somehow able, with no known source of training, to successfully target his victim with a single gunshot from 200 yards out, well, this shooter not only missed his intended targets, but hit those he supposedly was sympathetic for. DHS said in its statement, quote, "The shooter fired indiscriminately at the ICE building, including at a van in the Sallyport where the victims were shot," end quote. Joshua John was arrested in 2016 and charged on a marijuana charge. That's according to the Texas Department of Public Safety records. He pled guilty and he served 5 years probation. The Dallas facility where Wednesday's shooting occurred, it's a building for enforcement removal operations. That's the sub-agency of ICE, and it conducts arrest and deportations. The same facility was targeted with a bomb threat back in August of this year, according to the DHS. Other shootings occurred in Texas at an ICE detention center in Alvarado on July 4th. And a Border Patrol facility in McAllen just 3 days later. Homeland Secretary Kristi Noem, she stated, quote, "This vile attack was motivated by hatred for ICE. For months, we've been warning politicians and the media to tone down their rhetoric about ICE law enforcement before someone was killed. This shooting must serve as a wake-up call to the far left that their rhetoric about ICE has consequences," end quote. Just hours before the Dallas ICE facility attack, California Governor Gavin Newsom, he appeared on the Colbert Report, and he incited violence against ICE, according to many. Watch this video, see what you think.
A 15-year-old disabled kid in Los Angeles was waiting for his sister to come out of high school, and they pulled out guns on this kid. They pulled out guns and handcuffed this young child. That's happening in the United States of America. Masked men jumping out of unmarked cars, people disappearing, no due process, no oversight, zero accountability, happening in the United States of America today. People ask, well, is authoritarianism, you're being hyperbolic? Bull, we're being hyperbolic. If you're a black and brown community, it's here in this country. And so I'm deeply proud that I had the privilege of signing the nation's first bill to address the issue of masking, also to require you have simple identification, to your point. I mean, if some guy jumped out of an unmarked car in a van with a mask on, tried to grab me, I mean, by definition, you're going to push back. And so these are not just authoritarian tendencies. These are authoritarian actions by an authoritarian government. You saw what Stephen Miller said last week. This should put chills up fine. Called the Democratic Party an extremist organization, basically a terrorist organization, saying he's going after his enemies. You saw the tweet that Donald Trump sent out, Truth Social, basically telling Pam Bondi, I want these 3 people taken out. That's happening in the United States. This can't be normalized. None of this can be normalized.
Well, Governor, thank you so much for being here.
Is it just me, or is it strange that we have so many similarities in the recent spat of assassinations and attempted assassinations? Young white males in their 20s, perched on rooftops, using somewhat antiquated sniper rifles and writing messages on their bullets. It's just all coincidence, I'm sure, right? A gunman opened fire on Wednesday outside an Air Force base in Nevada that was linked to Area 51. That's according to police. The unknown suspect fired rounds at the main gate of the site and was behaving erratically, we're told, around 12:30 a.m. Wednesday in Las Vegas at Nellis Air Force Base, spokespersons told these facts to the Daily Mail. Security officers, they then challenged the suspect who pointed his firearm at them. That's according to the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police. The alleged gunman was shot in the leg and taken to a hospital for non-life-threatening injuries. That was after a tourniquet was applied. Following the incident, Nellis Air Force Base, well, they took to Facebook, saying that its main gate will be temporarily closed until further notice. In the meantime, another entrance has been opened, they said, to alleviate traffic flow. And then the base said they will announce when the main gates are going to reopen. There is no threat, they said, to the public, and the investigation is ongoing. Well, as you know, Area 51 is a highly classified Air Force facility located within the Nevada Test and Training Range, which falls under the broader jurisdiction of Nellis Air Force Base. While both sites are used for testing classified aircraft and weapons, Area 51, it's a remote, secretive part of the military complex, far from the main base gates in Las Vegas. Breitbart News reports that some pregnant liberal women are posting videos of themselves downing Tylenol. Why? Why would they do this? Well, on Monday, remember, President Trump and his team, they announced that they were recommending that pregnant women limit intake of the drug due to possible associations with increased risk of autism. President Trump made the recommendation on Monday, as I said, alongside his Health and Human Services Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Trump administration has made it very clear from the beginning that they are determined to identify the possible causes and the stunning rise of autism in children, all in recent years. They've deemed it, quote, among the most alarming public health developments in history, end quote. Data from the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention shows that 1 in 31 children in the United States now have autism. President Trump on Monday said, quote, I think I can say that there are certain groups of people that don't take vaccines and don't take any pills that have no autism, end quote. The Amish, for example. Then President Trump announced that the FDA will be notifying physicians that the use of Tylenol during pregnancy can be associated with an increased risk of autism. So, some liberal women who've lost their ability to think clearly, they have used this announcement, I think, as a way to mock the leader that they've been conditioned to hate, of course, Donald Trump. In one video, a woman shows off her Tylenol pill with the caption, quote, here's me, a pregnant woman taking Tylenol because I believe in science and not someone who has no medical background, end quote. She makes no mention of the fact that President Trump did not randomly make his announcement based on his own opinion. Similar videos, they're surfacing as well, with leftist and soon-to-be moms apparently not concerned at all about the potential link between the medication and the risk of autism for their child. Watch this.
The ring of fire.
That's totally insane. That's what happens when you allow your reality to be captured by media influencers that are skilled in exploiting the left-right paradigm. And the media, of course, feeds the narrative. Look here. Reuters in 2013 reported that too much Tylenol for pregnant mothers is dangerous and could affect the development of their unborn babies. But now, in 2025, the liberals say that the same claim that was made by Reuters, now being made by the Trump administration, is not backed by science. Homeland Secretary Chief Kristi Noem, she should stop granting hundreds of thousands of work permits to foreigners for white-collar jobs needed by U.S. graduates. So says Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley, and he's chairman of the Senate's Judiciary Committee. The senator's declaration, well, it comes amid growing recognition that U.S. graduates are losing jobs to outsourcing as the Supreme Court decides whether to consider a lawsuit that argues against work permit giveaways. The Department of Homeland Security is issuing hundreds of thousands of work authorizations to student visa holders in direct violation of the law. That's according to Senator Grassley's September 23rd letter, which stated, quote, in addition to harming American job seekers, foreign student work authorizations also put our nation at risk of technological and corporate espionage. For example, over 33,000 Chinese student visa holders have STEM work authorizations that allow them to work in sensitive tech positions. The FBI has warned that China is engaging in the systematic theft of intellectual property by targeting businesses and academic institutions. And the USCIS has found that foreign student work authorizations are currently being used by government actors from countries such as the People's Republic of China as a means of conducting espionage and technology transfer, end quote. The work permit giveaways, they were carried out via two programs established by President George W. Bush, the optional practical training and circular practical training programs. These work permits, they allow white-collar migrants to take hundreds of thousands of jobs, often via ethnic hiring corporations that are in the Fortune 500. In 2024, President Joe Biden, his DHS distributed 400,000 work permits to foreign graduates, most of whom hope the jobs can help them get H-1B1 visas that allow contract workers to become permanent immigrants. Then you have New York University. They recently posted a video of their new graduating class, asking them what they plan to do with their degrees. Well, here's the shocking results. Watch this.
What are you doing after graduation?
I start working as a software engineer at Google from July.
I'm working here in New York
Where are you working?
at IBM.
So I just joined Amazon in Seattle and I'm going to be working there from next month onwards.
I'm going to Apple, going to the Bay Area.
I'm going to join Amazon as appliance scientist.
I'm going to continue to be a professor here.
I'm going to ByteDance.
I'm an applied scientist working in AI.
Directly full-time employment.
Where are you going?
IBM in Austin.
IBM in Manhattan.
I'm joining AWS SageMaker team. So yeah, pretty much into tech.
I'm joining a company, a robotics company in Minnesota. There's a lot of cool stuff I'm looking forward to.
In other news, Mark Zuckerberg's Meta has announced the launch of a new super PAC aimed at electing state candidates for both parties who support the company's stance on unfettered AI development with little to no regulation. According to the company, the American Technology Excellence Project Super PAC is launching amid a growing patchwork, they say, of inconsistent regulations that threaten homegrown innovation and investments in AI. That's what they stated. Axios, they report that Zuckerberg's super PAC will fight what it perceives as burdensome AI and tech policy bills across multiple states, most of them placing limits on data centers and their ability to gobble up water and electrical grid capacity. The announcement, well, it highlights the company's focus on state-level legislation, as the federal government appears also unlikely to pass significant tech policy that's regulating this industry anytime in the near future. This super PAC will be run by Brian Baker. That's what we're told. He's a longtime Republican operative and the Democratic consulting firm Hilltop Public Solutions, with Meta investing tens of millions of dollars, we're told, into what amounts to, I think, a massive propaganda project. In fact, Baker stated, quote, America's innovation edge is at a crossroads. We need state legislators who will champion our tech future, not cede it to global adversaries. We'll fight to keep the U.S. ahead of the curve, driving growth and opportunity for all, end quote. In a statement to Breitbart News, Meta VP of Public Policy Brian Rice wrote, quote, amid a growing patchwork of inconsistent regulations that threaten homegrown innovation and investments in AI, state lawmakers are uniquely positioned to ensure that America remains a global technology leader. This is why Meta is launching an effort to support the election of state candidates across the country who embrace AI development, champion the U.S. technology industry, and defend American tech leadership at home and abroad, end quote. Well, that's shorthand, I think, for what amounts to buying off politicians who will bend over backwards to roll out the red carpet for big tech and their big old water-hogging, electricity-hogging AI data collection centers, which, by the way, are necessary to implement a surveillance state that's been envisioned by, well, up-and-coming global technocracy. The linchpin of the system, something that's absolutely necessary for it to fulfill its desired role, is biometric digital IDs for every human being. And this digital ID, well, it'll be your key to accessing your bank account, your health care, your children's education, even your access to the internet. We've been telling you for years this was coming. This is something the World Economic Forum has been bragging about since 2018. And without it, the whole system, well, it fails to come together. But they want to make it all about keeping up with China in some kind of technology-based military-industrial arms race. That's not the overriding purpose of AI. It's about control. And the sooner that we understand that, the better our chances will be of stopping it and not finding ourselves rolled into digital concentration camps. We'll be right back. The businessman from Texas that spent years trying to bring the perfect red heifers to Israel is coming to speak in Collierville, Tennessee, outside of Memphis, on Friday night, October 3rd, Saturday, October 4th. They now have sacrificed one of those red heifers. There it is burning. They've now gained 10 gallons of ashes. Why do they need this? Well, the Old Testament, Numbers chapter 19, says that for the purification ceremony, for their temporary tabernacle or full-time temple, they need the ashes of a perfect red heifer. This is the first time this has happened in over 2,000 years. The story is going global. It's highly controversial. In fact, there's even a connection between the attacks on Israel on October 7th and these 5 red heifers. Come and hear him speak live in person, Friday night, October 3rd, Saturday, October 4th. Full details, worldviewstore.com, and to get your tickets, worldviewstore.com, worldviewstore.com. Welcome back from the break. Thanks for being with us tonight and every night, and for remembering that our national conference is coming up Friday night, October 3rd, Saturday, October 4th. You can still reserve a ticket at worldviewstore.com, worldviewstore.com, or you can join our vault and stream it live. WorldviewTube.com/vault. WorldviewTube.com/vault. You'll also have access to over 35 years of radio shows, TV shows, ebooks, audiobooks, documentaries, and our brand new powerful search engine that will blow your mind, and more coming as we're about to release online Bible and Worldview software. We've been working on this for a long time, and you're going to be amazed at how much work and research you can do based on our 35-year library. So lots of benefits to belonging to the vault anyway, and it is a big part of our general operating budget that helps us push out Christian worldview programming. WorldviewTube.com/vault, WorldviewTube.com/vault. And don't forget, we're brought to you by you. You help us push out free Christian worldview programming. And one of our major sponsors is our foundation, worldviewfoundation.com. If you'd like to make a contribution, worldviewfoundation.com. You'll also find our mailing address there if you prefer to support us through the mail. So thank you for your support. Revolver News reports that Republicans are lying about the recent about face that Google and YouTube has done with, well, regard to censoring and silencing conservative voices. As you might remember, YouTube had earlier this week finally admitted, well, what we've all known all along, and that is that their censorship crusade against any COVID skepticism and election integrity was, of course, unacceptable and wrong. And it came straight from the Biden regime. That's what they told us. Creators who were, well, demonetized, who were banned, who were silenced, or, well, telling the truth, they're now being reinstated. And apparently they're going to get their monetization turned back on. Here's what Revolver writes, quote, basically, YouTube is trying to undo the damage it gleefully inflicted for years, all in the name of Joe Biden's regime. But as always, there's a catch. We were told by Republicans like Jim Jordan that YouTube and their parent company Google were repenting for their sins and getting back to all American freedom of speech. But there's more to the story. While YouTube plays its little oops, our bad act, Google is still running the same corrupt anti-American censorship racket with AdSense, end quote. Countless websites, including Revolver, apparently remain blacklisted from Google ad revenue. And that double standard, well, I think it says everything about the game that they're still playing. And they're playing it apparently full speed ahead. So this does seem to be some kind of limited hangout where Google admits what it was doing, but only partially corrects the injustice. Meanwhile, House Republicans, well, they rack it up as a win. When in fact, it's only an admission of past sins while they continue with current sins. This is not good. We'll keep you posted. Well, now it is time for our nightly Worldview Report commentary. A report by the Wine Press suggests that corrupt America's endless advertising and constant upselling continues to get worse. Now, even after, well, you may have dropped hundreds, perhaps thousands of dollars into a new appliance, that appliance is now going to force commercials on you, even in the comfort of your own home. Samsung is the latest guilty offender. Watch this.
Imagine a fridge that scans your food, so you always know what you have on hand. Do less, live more. Welcome to Bespoke AI, Samsung.
Last week, a user on Reddit posted a picture of his smart refrigerator that after an update indicated the screen on the refrigerator would begin displaying ads. After the post went viral, Samsung confirmed in a statement that the South Korean-based company is in fact pushing ads through their smart appliances. The sales rep said that Samsung is, quote, conducting a pilot program to offer promotions and curated advertisements on certain Samsung Family Hub refrigerator models in the U.S. market, end quote. And then, quote, as a part of this pilot program, Family Hub refrigerators in the U.S. will receive an over-the-network software update with terms of service and privacy notice. Advertising will appear on certain Family Hub refrigerator cover screens. Cover screen appears when a Family Hub screen is idle. Ad design format may change depending on Family Hub personalization options for the cover screen, end quote. Interesting. So the current line of Family Hub refrigerators, well, they can range anywhere from $1,800 to $3,500. Samsung also confirmed the change in a statement to Fortune. As noted by the Wine Press, quote, despite this, some may have been tipped off to Samsung's potential shift to ads from the company's growing obsession with putting screens on products that are usually controllable with more repairable, affordable, and similar solutions like buttons and dials. But there are still bound to be people upset to see their fridge updated to display commercial messaging where their family eats and cooks, end quote. A rule of thumb, if it has a screen, it will have ads. Society, of course, has become one big, giant advertisement. This insatiable greed, well, it has no end. Everything seems to have a dollar sign attached to it. Everything is trying to sell you something and capitalize on you. It's real, but it's tiresome. However, there is a solution. Don't get smart products. I think a lot of people forget that SMART is really an acronym, which stands for Self-Monitoring Analysis and Reporting Technology. It's all about tracking and interconnectivity of protocols. In fact, this same line of Samsung refrigerators has AI built into them that detects what food you have in your refrigerator. Is that, I don't know, something you really want collected, cataloged? Why are corporations doing this? Is it going to some kind of centralized database? Will this next go to your insurance company, your health insurance? The food you have in your refrigerator, could that be used to increase your premiums if you're not eating green enough or healthy enough, according to your smart AI refrigerator that's now tattling on you? I don't know. These are some pretty good questions, don't you think? Well, that does it for this edition of the Worldview Report. As always, thank you for tuning in and supporting the broadcast at worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com. Please help us continue to push out free Christian worldview programming to help people understand the times through the lens of a Christian worldview and how to respond. And don't forget, we have our Sunday night church service where I've been teaching through the book of Revelation, 8 p.m. Central Time on Sunday nights, 9 Eastern. And if you haven't been able to catch the 49 one-hour lessons, as I teach verse by verse through the book of Revelation, you can go and watch them right now, free, brought to you in part by our foundation, free, at lastdaysstudy.com, lastdaysstudy.com. Remember, brought to you in part by our foundation, worldviewfoundation.com. So next time I'm Brannon Howse, may God save America. Take care.